Best of r/malicious compliance episode 1. During university I used to work a lot of odd jobs to help pay for tuition. One job I had was to be an assistant for a faculty member that was a typical Karen. The job was supposed to be only admin tasks related to schoolwork, but I helped her with other tasks to pad my hours. Such as help her move things to and from a storage locker, helping buy and move furniture and the such. Everything had to be done her way or else I would have to go back and redo it. At the end of the week I would draft an email about the tasks I did and send it to the work study program. CC Karen and get her to sign off on what I did. I don't think anyone read the body of the email or even cared. As long as Karen signed off on how many hours I worked I got paid. 10 days before my contract ended, Karen buys a brand new car right off the lot. This car had keyless entry and start. 7 years ago this was uncommon and not many people around campus had it. During the last 5 days of my contract, Karen decided that she was going to get the most out of my labor. I stacked up at least 20 hours of work during finals. This was great for the cash but not so great for studying. Most of the tasks she had me do were to her new car. I am decently mechanically inclined and enjoy working on cars and motorcycles. Karen knew this and would have me do things for her new car, like installing a spoiler she bought off of eBay, putting fender flares on, etc. The last day I was scheduled to work for her was devoted to working on this car. The last task she had for me was to install a spare hider key box underneath her car and put a spare key in it. In a keyless entry car, I explained to her many times that by putting the car's key fob on the car would mean that anyone can open it and drive it. She was furious that I fought her on installing the hider key and argued with me in the school's parking lot for just about an hour. She argued that if she forgot her keys she would be stranded and that she always had a spare key on all of her cars. I was adamant about not installing it until she threatened to not sign off on my hours and to just do what I say. Sure, I installed the key box and put a spare in it, got her to sign off on my last email and was very explicit with installing the key box, even saying in the email that I was against it, had concerns about the car and felt that I had to install it or she would not sign off on my hours. No fuss, no muss. I get paid the next day and complete the exit packet. I leave for break and when I come back the work study program director calls me in for a sit down to talk about my work with Karen. Sure enough, her car was stolen only a week after break and I was being asked if I had anything to do with it. I told them to pull up my emails that I sent with my weekly reports and in the last one it had my report on installing the key box and how against it I was. Luckily, I was back home for the break with family, working as a server for a pizza joint and was nowhere near my university. And lucky for Karen, she never mentioned in the police report that she had put the keyless fob on the outside of her car. After graduating 3 years later I found out from some peers that she was never able to recover her car. Thank you. Next. I'll keep this short and sweet. I work as a vendor and my company has a close rival. This rival is a huge conglomerate. You've undoubtedly heard about their biggest product, which is a sweet dark beverage mascoted by a polar bear in the winter. But in stores we come out to about 50/50 in product on shelves. At one of my accounts the rival company raised a stink that we were stealing some of their spots on the shelves, so they came to an agreement with management that we would go back to the mod. In doing so several of their most popular products lost space. Several of their newest had to leave the shelves to fit mine, and in all my company came out on top with space. I would say they lost an entire 4-foot section's worth of product, which is to say a lot. Especially since their loss is my gain and man did I gain a lot. So I guess before you complain you should figure out what you gain to lose. Edit. For clarification's sake, a 4-foot section is a standard length of shelves in retail. These shelves are in a cold case, so the lost 5 shelves worth in a 4-foot section. Also a mod/modular/planogram is a way to arrange shelves set by people paid to do exactly that. It works until products start to change/go away/come in. Then either they're amended or refreshed. I guess I've been working retail for too long and forgot people don't know that. My apologies. Thank you. Next. TL. Doctor. Lady can't decide what pizza she wants. Pays for 2+ extra on each. Gets one ugly ass pizza. I am manager at pizza place in shopping center. We make pizza in wood burning pizza oven. Our pizza place works pretty simple. You order pizza, You pay for it and then you have to wait until it is done. 10-40 minutes, depends how many orders we already have. Then we give you fresh delicious pizza either to go in box or you can eat it at table. And all our pizzas cost equal price, and if you want extras, it costs 50c no matter what ingredient. Simple, right? Well, no. I am at cash register and here comes hesitant lady. She orders pizza to go with ham and corn, we call it calamero, and make it twice. I say okay, it will be €6. As we have sale, you don't pay for box. She then says, actually, can you add their pineapple? Me, we can, but that is other pizza, we call it dolce. She says okay. I cancel receipt then, print new one when she says, you know what? I don't want pineapple in my pizza, just give me ham pizza. Me, just ham? No corn like you wanted first time? HL, no, just ham is okay. Then I cancel second receipt. I order her 2 ham pizzas, and guess what? She changed her mind again. HL, I changed my mind, give me corn on that ham pizzas. At that point, I am so frustrated. But I am not going to cancel receipt again. Me, okay, so 2 ham pizzas plus corn on each extra, that's 50c each. Total is €7. She didn't even notice price bump. Then she asked, how long? Me, 30 minutes, as we have plenty orders already. HL, your ad says that you are making your pizza just 2 minutes. Me, yeah, when you put pizza in the oven, it takes just 2 minutes to cook, but we can make only 10 pizzas in one batch and we have to first put ingredients on dough and not just on your 2 but on other 8 orders as well. One batch takes roughly 10 minutes, you are in third batch. Our ad doesn't say that since order, we have 2 minutes to make your pizza. HL, PFFFFF, I don't have time to spend here half hour, I am hungry. I am going shopping and I will be here in exactly 30 minutes. She didn't came back that day. We had her pizzas ready for her on an entire day. Then I throw it into garbage. Happy ending, right? Nope. 2 days later she came back. I was lucky one serving her again. HL, I came back for my pizza with ham and corn. I was confused because she was familiar to me, but I didn't recognize her at first. I looked at pizzas already in oven. I couldn't find hers. So I requested her receipt. Then it hit me. Oh lady, we throw out your pizzas. We cannot store your pizzas here overnight. HL, what? I paid for them, so you should make me new ones. Me, sorry but no, as we made 2 perfectly good pizzas, but you didn't came for them. HL, no way, I want to speak with manager. Me, sigh, I am manager. Can I help you? Very sarcastically. HL, well, I paid for pizza, so you should give me at least 1 as compensation. Me, you know what? I make you 1 pizza as compensation myself. But we have so many orders, you have to wait at least an hour. Definitely not true. She said okay, ordered pizza with ham and corn and went shopping. Then I made her the ugliest pizza I have ever made. It was oval shape, not circle. Edges were torn and ugly. I even torn dough in the middle. Then I put as little ingredients on dough as I could, and I baked it myself. So it was kind of black on one side and definitely not finished on other. Because of the shape, it didn't fit in box. I had to fold pizza so it fit. It was ugliest thing I ever made. And I put garlic oil not on crust, but in the middle. Then she came back, said, finally, took box with pizza and went away. I have never saw her again. Sorry for terrible grammar. English is not my first language. Thank you. Next. This is a story from a long time ago. I was about 17 at the time. Backstory. I didn't have a good relationship with my father. He was a control freak and a bully. This will become relevant much later on. I was a Royal Marine cadet. This was in the UK and had reached the rank of corporal. This meant that I had a section of 6 or 7 cadets under my command. We went on occasional training visits to barracks, and started for a few days. A particular visit was to the barracks in Deal in Kent. We had an overnight exercise which involved bivouacking in the woods. We were all settled and had time to spare before the exercise started, so we were chilling out. We had of course been told, as always, to keep our rifles with us at all times, or else, after being called away urgently, This may have been planned. I found my rifle was missing. My fault. But as I say, I think it was a setup. This was confirmed when, not 2 minutes later, the CO, an adult, arrived for a small inspection. Of course, my rifle was missing, and from the self-satisfied way he spoke, I was certain he was responsible. He told me that I had better find it before the exercise started, or it'd be in big trouble. I gathered my section together and formed a simple plan. They all went off, fanned out and appeared to be practicing for the exercise. Then they got into an argument, about 50 yards from the CO's tent. Of course, being him, he had to stick his nose in. Meanwhile, I had crawled out of the woods to the back of his tent. It was getting dark, and I knew my fieldcraft. I unlaced the back of his tent, retrieved my rifle, and laced it all up again, returning to my bivouac in the woods. A little later, the CO turned up, and with a shit-eating grin asked if I had my rifle now. "Yes sir," I replied, producing it. Of course, he thought it borrowed someone else's, so he checked them all. None missing. He returned to his tent, puzzled, to find no rifle. Not a thing he could do. I had obeyed orders and got my rifle. Here's the color. The CO was my father. Thank you. Next. First time posting here. Let me know if anything is out of place. Well, problem was that the rules were established a total of 4 times, in different times. I started working as an engineer in a multinational company, decent pay, really good benefits, etc. Only catch was that I was hired through a recruiting company, hence the good benefits, so I was basically a contractor. Contract was simple, it specified hours, vacations and, important, overtime pay. I start working, and first weeks were good, no overtime needed, not a fan of it either. But then comes the need to stay late, so I ask one of my managers if there was no issue with the overtime, to which he replied that my position is salary, not really his fault. That's what he was told, so, no overtime, no problem, not a fan. Then I ask about what are the rules then. He had no idea as I was the first salary contractor employee he had. We ask the HR rep, she gives the rules that specify that any extra time worked could be compensated with paid leave, and I had to keep track of my hours. Good enough, I complied, didn't even use all the hours. Time passed, then a few loaded days at the end of the month. And at the start of the month I went to the hospital to help a friend, and was counting on using the extra hours with paid leave, only to find out that I couldn't, as now I was being told that I could only use them at the month they happened, so no hours to spend. I adjusted and complied again, even when they screwed me out of 1 full day of paid leave. Time passes again, and I'm starting to stack hours, and can't even use them due to the project I was working on. So one Friday I'm asked to come in on Saturday, and it's almost the end of the month, and ask if just this once I could have overtime instead of comp, and my other manager had to, both direct employees, says that it's not possible, that we have to follow the rules, to which I state that you remember that I'm outsourced and have a contract that states I have to be paid overtime, and that I only get verbal confusing rules about this. She was already giving me too much time workload, and we had our small professional differences, due to the urgency of the project, and she said that she would check with the new HR supervisor about my case. She writes an email, where HR states a new set of rules. Any extra time during the week must be used within the same week to get a paid leave day. I would have to work at least 6 hours on Saturday, and those Saturdays had 2 months expiration dates to be used. This new set of rules practically voids all the hours I stacked, and I wasn't having it anymore. Enter malicious complaints. Come July and August, I started complying, not staying during the week, unless I was giving notice that I would come late next day. They didn't like it but had no say in this since they made the rules. And when asked about going to 4 hours on Saturday I would say yes, and work exactly 6 hours to get a paid leave day. 5 hours. By September I had a few paid leave days and used them all on Fridays, since they could not ask me by phone to come on Saturday, so no Saturdays. They weren't pleased either, because they had to pay overtime to other employees to get things done. As a side note, I never neglected my work. It was an all hands on deck situation for many months, and they liked booking me since they didn't have to pay me overtime. When mid-September rolls around, I gave my 2 weeks notice, got a better job, where like half of the days were paid leave days. Hey, I complied with the rules. It was petty at best, but I felt like I won the final round. Thank you. Next. For a brief moment in time I was an interim sales manager at a marketing company. Some backgrounds. Sometimes, especially in our retail space, clients would want to spend a lot of ad dollars in a short time period, i.e. Black Friday sales or what have you. Generally clients would like to arrange for the ad campaign months in advance of it actually being installed. This also gave the client the option of spreading their ad spend over several months. Say a client wanted to spend $10K for a 3-week run-up. Well, if he started out say 5 months ahead of time, we could just bill them $2K a month for every month and they get to spread out the spend. When deals like this came up, salespeople would have the option of getting 30% of their commission advanced, or they could wait until the contract was installed. If they got an advance and the customer cancelled, they would owe their advance back as a chargeback. Really good salespeople tended to just say, "Screw it, pay me when it goes live," and medical sales reps tended to take the advances. Cue Joe. Joe was a medical sales rep. Joe wrote a deal that was worth about $2,400 in commissions and Joe decided he wanted an advance. So we cut Joe a $720 check and said the rest would be paid out when the account installs, as we called it. This was before I was interim sales manager. I became interim sales manager, and the month I became sales manager the account Joe had written cancelled the deal for reasons. Joe was set to receive a $720 chargeback. At the same time, this was end of QTR, and based upon Joe's performance he had earned himself a $2,500 bonus. Commission statements came out and Joe came to complain to me about how his commission was wrong. He pointed out that his bonus was supposed to be $2,500 but he only got $2,300. They forgot his review bonus. I looked at his statement and noticed the $720 chargeback was missing. I sat down with Joe and I said, "Hey, look, I can ask payroll to fix your bonus and get you that extra $200, but payroll also forgot to charge you back $720. I think it's best we leave this be, cause you're actually $520 ahead." Joe got upset. I think he felt like I was trying to rip him off. I really wasn't, and I said, "Joe, if I ask payroll to fix your commission, they are going notice you didn't get the $720 charge back. They'll give you the extra $200 for the bonus plus take $720 back, so you lose $520. Yes, your statement is incorrect, but it's incorrect $520 in your favor." Joe and I had some back and forth and I was finally like, "Alright Joe, I'll go to payroll to get your issue fixed." I go to payroll, point out the error, I didn't bring up the chargeback. I was kinda hoping payroll would just not notice that, but they did. And payroll emailed me back and said, "Thanks for pointing out our error. We will give Joe an extra $200 for his review bonus, and we will also be issuing the $720 charge back for the lost account for a net adjustment of minus $520. So I forwarded the email to Joe and said, "Congrats Joe. Payroll will be paying out your $200 review bonus. However, they are also going to charge you back $720 for a net adjustment of minus $520 on your next pay statement." To which Joe came into my office in a bit of shock and said, "So they fixed my pay and now I'll lose $520? I go, "Yes. Because they forgot about the chargeback, right?" I go, "Yes." He bows his head in disappointment and goes, "I shoulda kept my mouth shut, shouldn't I?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "Can we just tell them to leave everything as is?" And I go, "Nope." He goes, "Fuck." And I go, "Sorry Joe." And he goes back to work. TLDR sales rep bitched about a $200 bonus after we forgot to deduct a $720 charge back. Walked away losing $520 after we fixed the mistakes on his pay. Thank you. Next. TLDR. Manager used my report in a meeting to set an example, only for the manager to be humiliated by the same report. Been a while since I have had a story. Nice to be back. I work in security and have been for years. A common practice is to complete a report of what happened during your time. I specifically work in patrols. Basically you go from location to location checking on each site. After each site you write what you did at the location. I have 40 sites to watch over every night. For this reason things tend to get very copy-paste. Most locations require the same thing. Check exterior, checking stairs doors damage. You get the point. I got a new manager who is disconnected with how patrols work. He wants us to make unique entries into every single log. When I mean unique I mean none can be close to similar. So if I state I patrolled the exterior of the building, I can't use that phrase for any of the other logs. You can see how that could cause me a lot of problems, and is a massive time waster. After about a week of being borderline harassed, and threatened to make each log 100% unique or else, I decided to go on the malicious mode. We have so much to look after. We have thick binders giving detailed information for each site, and what's required of you. Site orders. Every time I would complete a site I just copy-pasted all the information into the log. Each log has a small window that you could put 50 words into before it becomes overwhelming to read. Each log I posted had no less than 500 words directly from the site orders. After my first day doing this, I expected to walk in and get yelled at. However, nothing happened. I got no emails, no talking to, zero reaction. However, I still hear that other security officers are still getting chewed out. I decided to see how long I can get away with this. 2 months later, and still no one says anything, not a word. We have quarterly meetings to talk about accidents, how the patrol group is doing, what's going wrong and what's good. The manager, the first thing he brings up is the logs, and how almost everyone is failing. How we all should know better. You're not kids, I shouldn't be holding your hands. The only adult in here besides me is OP. I look up at him, and his smile was almost disturbing. He then shows a log I wrote up. He begins to talk about how everyone should be like me. How no one deserved to work here but me. The looks I was getting from everyone was brutal. He talked for about 20 minutes constantly using my name. He would have kept going, but I interrupted him. I asked why he called me out, and how inappropriate it was for him to do so. He looked at me and said only children interrupt someone when they are talking. I told him that he has a strange obsession with children and he needed to get help. The room was dead silent for a solid 30 seconds as we made direct eye contact. I then turned to the group, telling them that I have been copy-pasting my report for the last 2 months. I told them that I just copy-pasted the site orders over and over again. The manager's face started getting real red. He after all wanted us to make unique logs. He started to scramble a bit as he pulled up other logs of mine, only to show that everything I said was true. After that the whole group jumped on him. Many had been screamed at for the exact thing I had been doing. It was brutal. I don't think I have ever seen so many people yell at one person at the same time. The manager slid into his chair just looking at the computer. It was 15 minutes of just utter verbal shouting. He quit a few weeks later.